morning's sermon and in next week's sermon, so I don't have to waste your time at the end of the meeting. Or as I prefer to call it, the annual celebration of all our exciting missions. I'm going to speak just very briefly about the temptation of Christ. That was the beginning of his ministry on this first Sunday in Lent. It's not going to be a very interpretive or exegetical sermon. That's not a first for me. If I can twist the text somehow, I'm not above doing that. I want to use the story of the temptation of Christ to talk about the different ways in which a church can be run. There is an easy way to run a church, and there is a hard way. Out in the desert, what Satan was offering to Jesus was the easy way. Satan recognized that Jesus wanted to bring the world to himself, and so Satan decided that he would help Jesus and give him some good advice. And he said, look, if you are going to attract these people, you've got to do outward things that make a big show and appeal to the very lowest part of them. For example, turning the stones into bread, or going up to a high place and bringing the world to himself in power, or throwing himself down from a pinnacle on the temple. All of those things would have appealed to the basest part of humankind. Because when Satan looks at human beings, he sees things that are very low and greedy and prone to threat and power and reward. And he said, Jesus, do it this way and it will be easy. Jesus turned Satan aside and said, no, I'm not going to do it the easy way. I'm going to do it the hard way. And what Jesus meant by that was this. When Jesus looks out at people, he doesn't see the low part of them or the base or the animal part. Jesus looks out at all of us and he sees within us the very best. He sees people who are high and noble and spiritual and good and loving. And Jesus said to the devil, I am going to appeal to the highest part of humankind. I am going to ask them to believe that God is love. I'm going to ask them to be compassionate to all the people around them, and I'm going to ask them to trust God for their future. And I believe that the most high and noble part within every human being will respond to me with love and generosity and grace and goodness. Satan said to him, well, good luck with that, and walked away. And Satan honestly believed that human beings were so low that Jesus' appeal to the higher part would absolutely fail. The way that we run and manage the church, there is also an easy way and a hard way. The easy way appeals to the lowest part of humankind. Let's think, if we were to run this church in an easy way, and in a way which gave in to the greed and the fear and the low part of humanity, we'd say things like this. Look, let's cut back on our mission budget. Really, no one of you wants to give away your money to help people that you don't even know. And really, they should help themselves. And you can't save everybody anyway, so let's save a little bit of our money and not give to mission anymore. And after all, we're all kind of cheap and greedy and mean, so that would make good sense to us. And when it comes to Christian education, well, you know, do we really want those little brats running around in the sanctuary? The noise they make and the money that we have to put into educating them? Let's save our money and not bother with Christian education. We'll become a church for people who are, well, 65 and over only. We don't want young families here. Generally, they don't contribute very much anywhere. When it comes to pastoral care, can't people's families look after them? Why do we have to do everything? And when it comes to looking after this massive old building, let's assume the church is going to be dead in 10 years, and let's not bother wasting our money. If the bricks are falling out of the Weaver Street wall, and if the rainwater is coming in and making our plaster crack, well, just don't look up there, okay? There's an easy way to run a church. It makes the assumption that all of you are cheap, mean, greedy, miserable, thoughtless, lacking in compassion, and don't give a darn anyway. It appeals to the low part.